What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. I know we've been really light on the training style content lately, so that's why today I thought I'd bring you guys acceleration and full body strength session while on a cut. So we're halfway through the second week of my cut now. Started the cut at 86, 87 kilos, weight to waist sort of fluctuating. Part of the reason is I never weigh in first thing in the morning because I don't have scales in the house. I have to wait till I go to the gym, and that can be at a different time of day, different amounts of shitting and eating and hydration. And the goal for the cut, honestly, it's not too specific, which I realize isn't ideal, but it's mainly because I realize weight is just a proxy for body composition, and I'm unsure of how lean I can get before it starts to affect my performance on a couple of things that I care about. But generally speaking, I don't envision it being too hard to get down to a fluctuating average body weight between 81, 82 kilos, maybe even 80 kilos, and I think I'll be looking pretty lean once I get to that stage. You know, we're not trying to get stage lean or anything ridiculous like that, just as lean as a lot of the top sprinters are. Like at the end of the day, fat doesn't help you run faster, it doesn't really help me in the surf either. So just to give you an idea of the general routine, I woke up just before 9, hopped straight on a client consult, sent out a marketing email, uploaded a YouTube video, then just did a couple of chores around the house. And basically what I'm trying to do is just keep myself busy and just delay my first meal for as long as possible. I feel like everyone's advice around weight loss is always the exact same. It's like high protein, high satiety, high volume sort of foods. I've been doing something a little bit different this cut, and this has been going on even before I started the cut, but I'm just fiber maxing. Just with my general nutrition habits, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are the same, there's no way that I'm just gonna get through a full days of eating and not at least hit the lower range of adequate protein for building and at least maintaining muscle. I'm also slamming a decent amount of caffeine in the morning, I'm not gonna lie, so I'm back to having 2 double shot lattes to start my day. It's just such a good appetite suppressant, and then when I can't hold off any longer, I'll launch into this really high fiber, relatively high protein still, chia pudding. And can I tell you, the amount of one wipe craps that I've done since I've started consuming this breakfast, like I eat a decent diet. Like I never really care about food quality too much, but I always try to not be like too much of a gross pig. I've probably been eating slightly cleaner overall and slightly prioritizing fiber a little bit more since I've started the cut. This thing is just like a fiber bomb. It takes me like 5 minutes to put together and throw in the fridge before tomorrow morning. I'll put a quick recipe up here so you can screenshot it if you want to copy it and try it yourself. As far as the fruit, just mix it up. Blueberries, raspberries, frozen mango all work great. You could probably try any fruit that you like with it. And the good thing about this is, you know, this will keep me full all through my walk to the gym. That's the benefit of the new place. It's a good walk to the gym where, don't get me wrong, it's a decent walk, but especially while I'm in a cut, if I walk to and from the gym and then just complete my other normal activities throughout the day, that should land me around 20,000 steps. Wake up, caffeine, keep myself busy, straight into a high fiber first meal, and then just try to space things out so I only have one other major meal and a few snacks before the end of the day. Not trying to think about macros, just making sure I get a decent amount of fiber in every single day on top of this. Overall, this strategy seems to be working really well for me so far. All right, I'm gonna finish this off and then I'll start my walk to the gym. I'll probably yap for a little bit on my way there, and then we'll go straight into a plyo warm up, some resisted acceleration, and then a full body strength session. So we've got main things that we're focused on for our full body strength session. I don't think we're gonna PB it today, especially because I'm not doing belt, I'm not doing knee sleeves, but I wanna get in some high quality sets on the pendulum squat. I'll see if I can PR my pronated grip lat pull down, because I've really been pushing the supinated grip lat pull down, where 2 pins off the full stack, but I retested my pronated grip lat pull down the other day and it was only about like just over midway down the stack. So really want to get that progressing this session. I think what we'll do going forward is, instead of just punching 2 underhand lat pull down sessions a week, I'm going to go 1 underhand and 1 pronated session per week. I think one of the most underrated things about being able to work out whenever I want and being such a big user of the old shoelace express is really cuts down on my warm-up time in the gym. So for a lot of people, like, they're stuck completely sedentary in a chair, or they're fresh out of bed and they've got to squeeze their training in before work, so it might take them a few extra warm-up sets and things like that to start to come alive and feel good when they're training. Whereas if you're like me and you do have some flexibility in your schedule, just push your training back, wait till you've got a couple of meals in, wait until you've hit, you know, like 5,000 steps for the day or something like that. You know, if you manage to crush out like 20,000 steps before you work out, sure, that could affect your performance, but just a nice couple of grand steps before you work out makes life so much easier. There's so many coaches who've gone down the PRI or expansion, compression, gait and breathing rabbit hole, and you just see all these coaches trying to feed all these like locomotive gait properties into some sort of movement prep for their athletes. But for 90% of people, you can just get a better version of that just literally getting 10,000 steps in a day. It's so simple. And just a quick reminder, if you're not doing the things that you know you need to do, whether it's as an athlete or as a coach trying to grow your business, check out the links down below. We have one-to-one coaching for athletes, and then we've also got GPP level 1 if you want to start leveling up your coaching business. It's a big part of the service we provide here at General Physical Preparation, not just giving you the information and helping you put together a plan, but obviously just the accountability, putting it into place. All right, so we've just got into the gym, so we're going to go through our plyo warm-up. There is a pretty specific way I like to do my plyo warm-up when I'm using it as prep for a resisted acceleration day or any acceleration work really. And so it starts the exact same with just some sort of two-legged leaping variation for a bit of a general warm-up. But for our single leg version, we'll be doing bounding, so alternate single leg locomotive plyos from a static, like typically a 3-point start. I feel like bounding, especially from a static start, has a very similar feel to a 3-point start or even a block start. It's just real early acceleration vibes, like a little bit longer time spent striding, not turning over as fast yet necessarily. Really helps me. I very often, and it's a common thing with a lot of people who are trying to compensate for just not being great accelerators, just cutting the first step a little bit too short. Not that it necessarily has to be this maximally triple extended thing, but it's a pretty good strategy for a lot of people. Just try to get a decent amount of propulsion out of your first step. Acceleration's this paradox where, like, yes, we're trying to be fast, but this is the slowest step we're going to have of the race, and it's also, relatively speaking, going to contribute the most to our total momentum. Let me show you what I mean as well when I talk about like the sort of sled I like to sprint with. So this is just a Velcro weightlifting belt. The sled came with this. If you just type in sprint sled, I don't know what brand I got. Hold on, let me check. So this is a Morgan. I don't know if that's an Aussie brand, but it's not that you can't do resisted acceleration on things like these, like the Prowler, but just because they occupy your arms, it's just not as specific to sprinting and they just don't feel as good. In my opinion, resisted acceleration, you want to be dragging rather than pushing something. It's not just the arms thing, it's also, like I say, it creates weird friction when it's out in front of you. Definitely better than nothing though, but if you don't have a sled like me and you want to get into some resisted acceleration, the ideal substitute, honestly, would just be finding a gentle slope to sprint up. Hill sprints and resisted sprints, basically the same thing. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do to build into my resisted acceleration. We're just going to do probably 8 to 10 meter efforts as I pyramid the weight on the sled up to around maybe slightly over 50% body weight, and then I'll either stay there for the remainder of the sets, or if I want to get some faster repetitions in, I'll start scaling back to eventually finishing up even maybe with some unresisted repetitions. But the warm-up leading into it, I'll probably do some alternating split stance leaps, a heap of sets of my acceleration bounds, and then I'll get into my lighter resisted accelerations. The other thing that I'll rip into just in between sets of my warm-up plyo routine is just some general like hip opening, spine rotation stuff. The hip mobility demands for sprinting are pretty intense, so I always find that, especially in my earlier sets, they feel much better if I just implement some light stretching in with the plyos. A lot of coaches I talk to, they're way too worried about static stretching, reducing their power output before they train speed or strength. Unless you're doing a full-blown yoga class or like some serious like dedicated splits or front fold work, you'll be fine. If it's just part of like feel good loosening up stuff, that's fine to do before strength or your power workout. And you won't notice any power reduction if it's allowing you to achieve more efficient positions. People are so myopic when they hear, and again, it's not going to reduce your force output, but even if it did, there's other things that it's going to make up for if you can't get into good positions. Pretty straightforward stuff, just a lot of like extend your hip and then pull your knee to your chest on your opposite leg, do a really long lunge and rotate both ways. Really straightforward. Slightly more intense leaping set, and my next set is going to be the acceleration bounce. All right, thought I'd mix it up, give you guys the side angle of the acceleration bounds. You can see a little bit more of the important stuff of what's going on. All right, so what I want to see here is really nice projection out of that first bound from a static start. I probably should be getting like fairly complete triple extension of the back leg and just setting up a really good second bound rep or second step for my acceleration. Usually for my 3-point starts, I'll have my toes basically in line with the heel of my front foot. Drop my shins in nice and low to the ground. Try to feel like I can push with both legs, and we just go. I'm not getting what I would consider complete rest between these, because for a warm-up, like I'm trying to get a little bit of a sweat up as well. So yes, I'm trying to get like solid quality plyometric work. I am taking my rest, but I'm also trying to increase my temperature so that I'm feeling good from set one of my actual acceleration work. Really been struggling to push with my back leg out of this staggered stance or static acceleration start. So just trying to like feel some weight in my feet with that split stance. I think I was a little bit too narrow with it. I've been seeing some behind views of a lot of good accelerators, and they are sort of like hip width. I think I was like narrower than hip width. For a good start, a lot of the things that people mess up when they're just getting into static starts, whether they're even important, they're only really important if you want to do a track meet or something like that. If you're just trying to get faster for field sports, they don't really matter, but they're still fun to train. The thing that a lot of people mess up is they're not dropping their shins low enough and their weight forward enough. So they're in this like falling position when they start. A lot of people, their weight's still too far back in their legs when they're in their start position. So they remove their hand and then they've still got to push. Whereas you want to be in a position where you'll just have to reflexively push if you removed your support hand. That's the whole advantage of a 3-point or a 4-point start over a 2-point start. 2-point start, your weight's still in your legs, you've still got to drop the shins in. 3-point start, you've got that balance so you can actually start in a more aggressive position. So in terms of the leaps, I think I did about 4 sets of leaps. Maybe it was only 3 sets of leaps, but a lot of reps in there. And then anywhere between 4 to 8 sets of these bounds, just really, really pushing the warm up so that the first rep of these accelerations feels quality. The other thing I got to watch with these acceleration bounds is that I don't get too far away from the ground. So that's probably like the downside of really leaning into this is like a little bit of a technique / warm-up drill primer for acceleration. I was looking at my block starts and yeah, just a little bit too. Not that you need to be like sliding along the grounds, but definitely closer to sliding around the ground than like doing this sort of action. All right, 1 or 2 more sets of this and then we're ready for a rep. Okay, that felt a little bit better. That felt more like, you know, skipping like a stone, staying close to the water or staying close to the surface. Whereas, you know, it's later. They're the 2 different cues I use. When you're at horizontal displacement in your plyos or your speed work, think about skipping like a stone, staying close to the ground versus bouncing like a golf ball for more max velocity or like vertical force emphasis and getting off the ground a little bit more. All right, set 1 of resisted acceleration. Oh, what is my 10 meters? You definitely aren't going to see the full 10, but looks like you're getting a couple of meters. I'll readjust the camera so you can see the back half of it in the later reps. All right, so feeling the weight in both of the balls of my feet. And that's the good thing about, as soon as you got resistance, you just lean forward so much more. So what I'm doing with rest periods here is I will gradually lengthen them as I start to get close to my top set or the peak weight or the back end of my resisted acceleration. The whole aspect of the slightly reduced rest is I still am sort of at the late stage of my warm up here. So typically for every 10 meters of max intense sprinting, we want about a minute's rest. So I'm still getting probably more than that. But my rest periods will definitely creep up as I start to peak in the workout. Just pyramiding the weight up as well. So started with 20 kilos on the sled, jumping up to 30 kilos on the sled. We'll end up with anywhere between 35 and 45 kilos on the sled. I rave about it all the time, but God, resisted acceleration is just so good if you find sprinting just a bit coordinatively or technically overwhelming. As soon as you get 30% plus body weight on there, you got so much more time and you got such a good counterbalance to hit good acceleration shapes or to stay in them as well. If you're someone who gets off the mark really aggressive and horizontal, but then you get upright really quickly, a sled and some good weight can just help you sort of smoothing out that transition. Well, not really the transition, sort of just delaying the transition more than anything. Okay, I don't think that necessarily looks that quick, so we're actually gonna shoot a little bit under 50% body weight today. So I've only got 35 kilos on the sled. It probably still is 50% body weight, but in terms of how I normally factor the body weight, I consider it 50% of additional weight. Okay, so we're coming up to our 4th set now.
We're not going to do the pyramid back down either. We're just going to stay heavy because it's just feeling a little bit better today with a little bit more weight on it. We'll go 3 to 4 more sets here, and then we'll get into our pendulums. Shouldn't take too many warm-up sets to get top weight on the pendulum squat today after all this. All right, so in a good week of training, I'll hit 2 sessions like that. 1 session a week is better than nothing. You can absolutely make great progress just 1 time a week, especially if you're a more strength-focused athlete. And then 1 max velocity session with some tempo thrown on the end of it, just to get some longer exposures. All right, so someone was kind enough to leave 1 plate on the pendulum squat, so that's where we'll start for our warm-up. Just a couple of reps. So what we're looking for here is 2 really high quality sets with less than 2 reps in reserve. At least one has to be like really good. If I really fry myself on the first work set and get close to a PR or something, then I can take it a bit more chill on the second work set. But regardless, 2 real quality top sets. I aim for around a 5 rep range, but seeing as we're looking at this primarily as hypertrophy, nothing is ever strictly hypertrophy or strength in my programming. Hypertrophy and strength are just so overlapping as physical qualities, it's not funny. But on these sets, and especially with my clients and how they treat their accessories, even though, like I said, this is not necessarily an accessory lift for me right now, is we focus on the amount of sets and the proximity to failure. As far as if you do an extra rep or 1 less rep to get a more accurate RPE for the set, or RIR, I actually want you to do that. The rep range is really just a guideline, which is also why I've been trying to get into the practice of just doing the old double progression for a lot of my clients, or it's not even strictly double progression, that's an added bonus. But yeah, just so that's more encapsulated in the program delivery, just like, you know, it's very important that we hit the total amount of sets, and the proximity to failure, it's less important that we're always at the same amount of reps. Because sometimes it's not until you're in the set that you've realized you're not going to hit the right RPE at the right amount of reps. So it's just better to adjust in set and go an extra rep or 1 less rep, nail the RPE. All right, that's a lot of yapping. Let's go warm up set number 2. Hopefully we'll be able to jump straight into a work set here. So maybe go for like 6 or 7 reps with 3 plates. All right, so I had to throw the headphones in for first work set of pendulum squats, listening to One Arm Scissor by At The Drive-In if you want a workout track. Strongest squatter in the gym's just rocked up to spot me, so everything's coming together. Go for like 6 or 7 reps. Hell yeah, let's do it. All right. Okay.
Up, push.
One more. Did you touch that a little bit?
No, I didn't.
Are you sure?
I swear to God.
So thank you.
I was going.
That was good. That was a stimulative set. I bounced too much. I know I bounced too much on my pendulums. I'm going to drop the weight to 2 plates for my last set, which is typically too much of a drop off, especially if you're matching reps. I'm going to increase the reps. I'm going to take away the bounce. Might even add in a light pause. We'll see. All right, so some amount of time has passed, probably closer to 10 minutes, probably closer to 10 minutes than 5 minutes. So now we're coming back for our slow controlled set. Again, like normally I just, for exercise like this, I do prefer just straight sets or top set back off. This is more akin to the technical reset. It's like, you know I got a hell of a stimulative set there. Let's just work on our accuracy here. And this will still be stimulative. We're gonna get some velocity loss on these reps. Oh, even when I'm pausing, it's bouncing. Oh, this is just pure hell. Ego and quad destruction simultaneously. Oh. As much as I advocate for straps, I just haven't been whipping it out for a lot of my pull movements. So first set of strapped up lat pull down in recent memory. So it'd be interesting to see what sort of immediate effects we get there. So for me, sets of pronated like wider grip lat pull downs, probably looking at work sets of like 6-7 reps. I keep saying 6-7, Jesus. It's definitely like good for more than 5 reps. So it's like 70 to 80. It would be nice to get them up to like clean sets of 90. Where's the pin at the moment? So pin's at 50, so just want to see how straps feel. And even like with what I consider a wide grip, still trying to figure out what the sweet spot is in terms of grip width. I have a feeling the straps are going to clean up the form a fair bit. One less thing to think about. It's definitely feeling lighter than normal, so who knows, might hit a PB today. Let's jump to 80 for the next set, see how we can make it move. All right, first proper work set. If I hit 7 reps, this would be a PR for pronated grip. All right, let's see how we go. Oh, I'll take that. That was really good. Might try push up to 90. If I can get if I can get more than a good triple at 90 on this stack, who knows what that weight actually is. That's 2 really high quality sets for me. Second work set of lats. Sometimes I'll throw in a third set. I don't think we'll be needing that today because hit PRs probably on both sets. Not that you always want to up the volume when you don't PR, because sometimes you need that. That's a sign you need that little bit of a break, but yeah, sometimes it is a sign that you can just, get a little bit more of the volume side of things. As a content creator and educator in the space, God, it's bloody annoying just the volume versus intensity argument about hypertrophy. Like, it's so obvious that both are relevant, and I have my biases, but like even with my biases, it's like they're meaningless without each other included in the discussion. Like, discussing volume or intensity in isolation is just the dumbest, most myopic bullshit. It's whatever, there's so many of these going down in the fitness industry. Yeah, whenever you want to make a volume or an intensity recommendation, contextualize it by talking about the other variable. All right, I'll fired up now. Okay, not super clean, but for my standards, that's a great little PR. So now I'll do 2 to 3 sets of chest, 2 to 3 sets of mid back, and then we're out of here. Let's see how clean we can make the 35s look. So trying to push the weight on these, but still trying to maintain nice ROM, keep good amount of tension on the chest, not just go full like powerlifting style arch on it, a little bit of scapular freedom, or how I like to think about it is just not maximally retracting on the way down, trying to keep a little bit of air between the scaps. Okay, I need to stop talking through this set. Can really feel the chest. It's probably pushing the weight there for that sort of technique. Like, if I go full arch retraction, I can do nice work with the 40s, but if I am trying to do it for proper chest hypertrophy, should just reduce the weight, reduce the arch, let the scaps move, and just actually let my chest do all the work for me. The biggest misconception is that arching and retraction keeps your shoulders safe. It doesn't. It helps you lift more just by reducing the ROM. Like, people are like, oh, it's more stable. No, it's just less ROM, which, like, I can see how that's more stable. Like, something not moving is just inherently more stable under my definition. The issue with thinking that arching and retraction creates shoulder stability isn't that you do exercises with retraction and depression and an arch in your spine. It's that you don't train out of that position. So people, especially like 5 to 10 years ago, were so afraid of protraction and just letting their scaps move freely. Whereas nowadays, people are a bit more hip to it.
All right, so we didn't end up filming the last exercise. That was just Kelso shrugs. So if you don't know Kelso shrugs, it's just where you focus on the scapular movement and you don't bend at the elbows at all when you're doing some form of horizontal rowing. So really been enjoying those lately. And then took a bit of a wrong turn on the way home and copped about 8,000 steps on the way back. So step count's high, haven't eaten too many calories yet, nearly done work for the day. And then I get to snack out a little bit. Oh, we also had a really good weigh-in at the gym. So I was 84.5 in the gym. It'd be nice to never see 86 on the scale again for the rest of this cut. Fluctuate like more than a kilo every single day. So obviously it's like weekly averages are gonna be our main metric of progress here. Weekly average weigh-in and then just eyeballing in the mirror, trying to remove the body dysmorphia. But anyway, I wouldn't be a fitness guy in a pool if I wasn't trying to sell you some sort of course. So check out the links down below, sign up for GPP level 1 or apply for one-on-one coaching. And this too could be yours.